Hey everyone, and welcome to Already Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Star Trek The Next Generation Season 1, Episode 15. It's called Too Short a Season, so full spoilers for the episode as always. So this episode features an admiral, and you know we're in for a good time as an admiral coming on the ship, because it's always, Admiral comes on the ship, Captain, I'm in charge. It's your ship of course, but do what I say, because I'm an admiral.
Every time.
Yeah, so we're continuing that classic Star Trek trend. But we have this ancient admiral who gets on in horrible old age makeup.
You say ancient. It explicitly tells us he's 85.
That's ancient.
My point is that the makeup made me think it was supposed to be significantly older than that.
Well, do you want to know what I think's funny about you thinking that? Is I'm fairly certain they actually used the same makeup that McCoy had in his cameo in the first episode. I'm fairly
and he was
certain
meant to be into his hundreds, right?
Yeah, he was like 120 or something like that. Maybe even more than that. And I don't know what you call it, but I think the core kind of like prosthetic was the same thing. I actually think they used this because he looked kind of like what McCoy looked like in that episode.
Yeah, I can see it.
So, but yeah, so he, yes, I was being hyperbolic, but yes, he's old. And we have this hostage crisis on this other planet, and the planet demanding him because he negotiated a hostage situation there years and years ago, back when he was a young man. And so Picard and the crew are going to pick up this admiral, and then they're on their way to this place. But mysteriously, as the closer they get to this planet, the admiral starts to de-age and get, because when they first pick him up, he's in this wheelchair, he can barely move, and then he's walking up at one point.
Yeah, he's got some disease.
Some disease, yes.
I can't remember the name of it. It's some disease.
Yes, and then he starts getting younger and de-aging, and then eventually it becomes about him sort of atoning for his sins because he made a kind of a dodgy call to solve the crisis, 50 years ago, which it wasn't quite 50 because
45.
Was it? Sorry,
it was 45 years ago.
Was it 45?
Yeah.
That other dude's not aged that much, then, has he? The guy on the planet who's demanding it's him. Karnas.
He was probably a younger man at the time.
Yeah.
They explicitly say 45 years ago, when they're in the tunnels.
Just compared to Jameson the Admiral, who looks like he's a wrinkled old ball sack, and then Karnas looks like he's maybe 50.
Two things.
Yeah.
One, probably the terrible makeup.
True. Yes.
Two, just for the sake of defending it a little bit, maybe the disease makes it look like he ages faster. Maybe it affects his body because it's affecting his body. He can't walk properly or anything like that.
Okay, so that's why it looks like 120 or 150-year-old McCoy. Right?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it's terrible, but devil's advocate.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll accept it. Yes, so he's trying to atone for his sins, and of course the big twist is that there's not actually a hostage crisis at all, and we'll get into kind of why that is later. But it's just more of it's all a coy move to get him out there because the Karnas wants revenge on him.
Yes.
So, did you? I've got a feeling I know the answer to this, but did you enjoy Too Short a Season?
Not particularly.
No, it's terrible. It's maybe the worst Second worst episode. It's not as bad as the racist one. What that was called?
Third or fourth one, whatever that was.
Yeah. Where Tasha, they wanted Tasha for his wife.
Yeah, that was terrible. I will be shocked if we find a worse episode than
that. That's the worst one for all 7 seasons. So whenever we find a worse one,
I genuinely think it's possible.
That's possible.
That's the case. That was that bad. So this one is second worst.
I think it's second worst. As soon as I saw that old age makeup, I went, because I even said last week when we looked ahead and I saw the image, I went, "Oh, that's old age makeup," meaning that we're going to see him as a younger person at some point.
Yeah. And
sure enough, he did. I mean, it's basically the Benjamin Button of Star Trek episodes. Because by the end he's like 20, so he's like super young by the end. Not a kid, but as long as
I think it's notable that he's younger than he was when he was with Karnas first. Because I mean, if he's 85, he would have been about 40 when this originally happened for him.
Yeah, because he doesn't recognize him when he sees him as a young man at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
as soon as I saw the old age makeup in this, because I forgot about it from last week, I was like, oh. And then the episode goes on, and I think there's a lot of problems with this episode. One is that I don't think the de-aging thing is actually at all important to the plot. You could do this exact plot without that element, and it might not necessarily be good, but it would at least take the goofy element out of it, so I wouldn't be immediately just scoffing at it the way I was.
It wouldn't be good, but it wouldn't be worse.
Yeah, because I'm like, okay, we'll just give me an old admiral who's like 70, and he has this regret because he made this bad call like 40 years ago, and just still have it be have the obsession be the same, have the reason why he wants to go back there and try and defend himself or atone for his sins be the same. You could do all that and have it be the same, and it would just be a more serious episode that might work better.
Yeah, I don't know what the point of the de-aging is, other than like 3 or 4 moments of shitty forced drama with his wife.
Yeah, forced drama, some thematic things maybe of like. He's becoming younger again because it's his chance to atone for what he did when he was younger, or something like that. I don't know.
That's a stretch.
It's a stretch, but that's all I got for you.
Yeah.
Do you know what the worst part is, though? Is that, I mean, I know it wasn't necessarily supposed to be a secret, but every time he changed his appearance again, the scene would always start with him in shadows, so you couldn't see his face, and it was like, oh, I wonder if he's de-aged a bit more since last time.
Yeah.
And I actually thought, okay, so the first time he stands up on the bridge, like everyone's kind of staring at him, right? Picard, Geordi, everyone's looking at him as if, oh, this is weird. And he's like, oh no, I've been trying this new therapy. It seems to be working. I feel alive again. I'm on the bridge. Also, I love that Picard reminds him, it's like, oh, it's only temporary, in charge of the Enterprise there. He's like, oh, of course, Captain, of course. And I'm like, yeah, Picard had to remind him at that moment.
Yeah. Picard's a bit of a dick. I can appreciate that.
He's understandable dick, though. There's nothing about his dickishness that comes off as completely jumping, jumping the shark, as it were. So you have that problem, but every time... So they react that time, and they react when he first looks noticeably younger, but I felt like by the time they were beaming down to the planet, like 2/3 into the episode, and he was like a 22-year-old dude.
They were just like, whatever.
No one seemed to be even... Like, he's still barking orders as if he's this admiral in charge, but I feel like there's enough going on here to, like, not just listen to him. Like... because there's almost a bit of tension early on where, like, Dr. Crusher's like, oh, he's lying about something about his health. His scans are, like, 2 months old, and they don't quite trust him. There's a really odd moment in this scene where Picard says, oh, that's like something Councillor Troy would tell me. And Crusher
she looks so offended.
She looks devastated. I'm like, you're comparing me to Councillor Troy? What? Yeah.
She's like, I do real work.
I'm a real doctor. Unlike that quack. It's all in the expressions. It doesn't say anything.
But you can see it on her face. It's kind of great. Might be the best moment of the episode.
It's either that, or it's just the idea that he's comparing to another woman, and it's just it's tying into the romance kind of like things.
Sure, yeah.
Right. It's this like jealousy moment, which might be worse and more cheap just from a writing standpoint.
Oh, that is worse. Yeah. At least the other way, I can appreciate her being petty.
Yeah. That doesn't necessarily diminish her character. That's just like a natural fault that she might have. Whereas this is more like, you're turning her into like a 14-year-old girl who's jealous because the guy she's into is mentioning another woman.
Yeah. I'll be honest, that read of it never even crossed my mind, but it is possible.
Yeah, it was because he realised what he said and he sat down and says, what I mean, Crushers, I appreciate your advice, but in this instance, I'm going to ignore it.
Like I said, he's a dick.
Yeah. This is, of course, before he starts the aging. Once he starts the aging, I'm sure he never goes back and apologises and says, by the way, when you said that I should maybe...
You might have been on to something.
Yeah. But, so they beam down, they try to sneak in, they get into a bit of a firefight, because he's determined to, like, go down and, like, take care of the situation, because there is hostages. This Carnus has hostages himself. There's no terrorists. There's been a civil war on this planet for 40 years. And they've been just fighting for whatever. And it almost felt like spiritually kind of a sequel to... Remember that episode of the original series where the Klingons armed that one side of the conflict on that planet? Yeah. So then they had to just kind of arm the peaceful.
They had to play into the arms race.
Yeah. It almost reminded me of that in a weird way, except here we find out that he gave, because Karnas wanted guns to deal with these terrorists. He gave him the guns, but then gave guns to the opposing force as well, and thinking, they'll have a bit of a conflict, but it'll be over in a year or less. But they've been waging war for 40 years, and
yes, someone never studied history.
Yes, thousands of people have died in this war over years, maybe millions.
Yeah,
and he's feeling a bit guilty about it, and I'm like, well, you probably should. I mean, Picard does play a little bit devil's advocate. He's like, well, I mean, they could have tried to, pursue peace in 40 years. It's not necessarily, not every innocent life is on your head. But he's like, I did straight the match though. He's like, well, yeah, you did.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not quite Felicity Smoke levels of incompetence, but it's getting there.
Yeah.
So they go down. He gets hurt, and then Karnas is going to start offering hostages if they don't give him the Admiral. And then they beam down with the Admiral, and he's in pain, but he's like, and basically the last 5 minutes is them convincing Karnas that this is. What's his name? Jameson. And he's like, I don't believe this is a trick. And he's like, if you're this and you're who. Eventually, he's got a scar on his wrist that proves that it's him.
Yeah. This is the only reason the de-aging is here, is so that there's this scene of at the end which adds nothing really to the story, but it pads out the episode a good, 4 or 5 minutes.
I guess the only interesting thing about it is that Karnas says, you know what, I won't kill you. Letting you live the rest of your days like in this pain, dying because you've taken this overdose of this alien drug that de-ages you. That'll be my revenge. I guess, okay, it solved it was a solution to the conflict, I guess.
It was.
Not that makes it satisfying or interesting or in any way enjoyable to watch, but it's the one thing I can give you in terms of impact that it has.
No, I'm with you, but it's not really worth it, is it?
Nah, it's a bad episode. There's no real two ways about it. There's very little in this. That moment with Dr. Crusher might be the best. I mean, Wesley wasn't even in this episode, and somehow it's worse than most of the episodes he's in.
It's true.
And it also feels like Picard, I mean, Crusher gets that moment. Troy has like one scene where she's giving advice, but basically that's it. The rest of the crew are just kind of there. Like, sure, Data's there, Geordi's there.
There's a really awkward moment where after Jameson's like, right, I'll take it all from here.
Yeah.
And Picard's like, yeah, only temporarily. And he's sat in Geordi's seat, so he just stands there behind him, like, oh, where to go now?
Yeah, that's my seat.
Yeah, he just stands there like he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, because Tasha's there, Worf's there, like the whole, the crew, other than Wesley, all the main characters are around, but they barely have a line of dialogue. Some of them, they're just kind of standing there.
Yeah,
might as well be Red Shirts in this episode.
It's just
the one that stuck out to me though.
Worse on top of all this being bad though, it's just really boring.
It is really boring. The one that stuck out to me the most, though, and that can play a bit of the cast, though, really have nothing to do with this episode outside of Picard, is Riker. Because Riker at least usually has some meat to his whatever he's doing, but he seems like after like one or two lines early on, he just kind of vanishes into the background.
It feels like they always make an effort to be like, "Isn't that right, Riker?" And he's like, "Yep, quite right." And that's it for another 10 minutes.
Yeah. Because at the end of the episode, everyone's like sitting around and they're ready to go again. I'm like, yeah, we've barely heard anything from anyone. And it's fine. I'm not saying Riker always has to have a big part of the episode. It's fine if it swaps over to someone else. But it felt weird that there wasn't like two main characters who had like a lot of stuff to do this episode. It was, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it is weird.
It struck me as odd. Which meant we spent a lot of time with Benjamin Button in space with his wife.
Yeah.
I did like
scenes were tedious.
The cruel part of me did kind of enjoy the scene where she's like complaining. She's with Picard and Crusher, and she's like, why has he done this to himself? Like, I was looking forward to us spending time together in a retirement age, but now he's got his life to live again, and I don't. Look at me, I'm an old woman. And then Picard's like, she's probably telling her, yeah, Crusher, is it? Yeah, well, he's not going to be able to live again. He's actually, what he's done is basically killing him. He's not going to be around for much longer. This is basically signed his death warrant. And then his wife is like, like really shocked. And I just thought that was really funny because it went from complaining that he's all youthful and will outlive her. And
Do you know what I think's funny is it changes nothing to her. Either way, she's not spending any time with him.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It has no impact.
Yeah. I don't care about these characters. I really don't.
No.
The conflict. Actually, Joe, the other thing that was sticking out to me about this episode was I thought the exposition was especially bad this episode. I felt like everything to do with this conflict on the planet with Karnas and this civil war, and I felt like there was a lot of times where I almost found myself zoning out of the scene because it would just be like him monologuing about what happened 40 years ago. Even like Picard's opening narration, like, oh, there's something on this planet and there's been warring for this and that, and this, blah, blah, right?
It was bad, yeah.
I do sometimes feel that with the opening, like Captain's narration sometimes, where
it's the one area that I will generally forgive just because it's expected.
Yeah, but it usually doesn't matter that much if I don't necessarily take in all the information because the episode makes it quite clear, quite quickly to the rest of the what happens in the plot and everything else. But I felt like every time it came back to Jameson like explaining what happened in the past, there'd be like like a good 3 minutes of him just sitting there talking about what happened, and it's just this happened and this happened and this happened and this happened. And it's just not interesting to listen to. It's not engaging. So you find yourself kind of, if not falling asleep, just kind of like not paying attention to it. And you're like, wait, hold on, was there a detail in there I needed? Was there something in there important that I missed? I was constantly second guessing if I'd paid enough attention to a thing.
I don't think it really mattered in the end.
It didn't, but like I don't know, it was sticking out to me.
I'm with you.
But hey, there you go. That's episode 15. Like that.
Yeah.
We're past the halfway point now.
Yeah. Have we got anything better looking for next week?
For next week, what's next week? So next week is called When the Bow Breaks, and
probably Bow. The bow breaks.
When the Bow Breaks. Sure, When the Bow Breaks. A planet that was able to cloak itself for thousands of years suddenly reveals itself, with its inhabitants proposing peace. But after initial negotiations, children of the Enterprise are kidnapped due to the infertility of the inhabitants. This is not a bad one to me.
Yes, but it could be funny.
Do you know what I think is going to happen here? I'm thinking they're going to kidnap all the kids, and then Wesley's going to be our main kid character. Like, he's going to be the leader of the children.
Oh, God.
On the planet.
You're right. It's going to be a Wesley episode.
The head hostage.
We're screwed.
Oh well. There you go. That's been episode 15 of Star Trek The Next Generation. Let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. You can like and subscribe and all that stuff. All that stuff helps us. As does, of course, go over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, where you can support us for as little as $1 per month. You get some stuff early, including these Star Trek reviews, and you get some exclusives. Go over and have a look. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV. Keep watching Star Trek. And to everyone but Connor, live long and prosper.